Broadcast.
What's up, broadcast?
Yo, YouTube and our 0 viewers.
Something happened. It's too high. Was that better? Oh, it is.
Okay.
I put this TV in here last week. See
Oh.
how Talon's desk has two monitors on it now?
Hmm.
Because I was playing Destiny in the office.
Nice. I think that's nice.
It's fine.
Okay. Let's record a show. Are you okay, Arrow?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
iOS 9 frightens and confuses me.
Why? Oh, come on. But you can watch a movie while you play a game on your iPad.
No, it's all... Everything is backwards now, and they changed the font, and I fear change, and it's so weird. I just tried to close a bunch of stuff so I don't lose battery while we're recording, and I can't find it.
Yeah,
Because it
it's
goes backwards now.
It's like the same but slightly different, and the backwards thing totally throws me off.
The
Also,
backwards thing is the worst.
When I looked at the font on the internet, I couldn't see the difference, and then as soon as my phone changed, I was like, holy shit, my phone looks different.
The keyboard is... Everything is
freaking me out.
wrong.
You can turn it back.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
I would rather complain.
Okay.
I like that honesty. That's refreshing.
I mean, it's weird because now it's like all lowercase letters, which
Yeah.
is actually harder to read.
Yeah.
That seems okay. Anyway.
It's like all the Android keyboards.
Oh,
You're probably
okay.
used to it now. Like when you hit shift, it changes. Yeah.
Yeah. I am used to that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do an intro.
You intro that shit up.
I'm going to intro that shit. This is for the 23rd. Okay. Hello.
23rd of what month?
I don't know anymore. Not October. That's all I know. My life is in before wedding and after wedding, and that's it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 82 of Cat Context Podcast for Wednesday, September 23rd, 2015. My name is Liore. With me today are my two usual co-hosts, Arolaide and Ellyndrial, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the Taken King in Destiny, and we're going to talk about some TV shows, and we're going to talk about some free-to-play, why it's terrible, our usual routine of things. Ellyndrial, you were not here last time. How have you been?
Good. I was on a plane with a baby, I think, when you were recording last time, so that was awesome. And since then, I've made 2 more plane tickets with my baby, so you are welcome, all of you flying people that I'm sitting next to.
Yes. And how was this his first flight?
It was his first flight. His first flight was on the way out. It was okay, and then his coming back, he was tired from the weekend of being passed around to all the relatives, and it didn't go nearly as well. So we'll see. We're coming to Seattle in October, and then at the end of October, we're taking a 10-plus hour flight to England. So we'll see how that goes.
Ooh, that's going to be fun.
It'll either be awesome or terrible, or we'll drug our baby, hopefully with the doctor's permission, or with,
Benadryl, a little whiskey, whatever, it works for me.
Yeah, I think Talon got gin and tonics from her parents when she went on flights to England. So
I can see that also.
Whatever you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. Look, yeah, it totally helps me when I fly, and I'm the same way when I fly back. I'm really cranky because you're tired out from travel, so I can understand where he's coming from.
And it's not even exciting when you land.
Right, exactly, because you're just I'm home and I have to do all my laundry now.
And I got to go to work.
Stupid work. Arolaide, how's your
baby
weekend?
to work?
It's San Francisco, man. They start him young.
Yeah, he's got programming class on Monday.
Yeah, exactly. When's his Kickstarter? Come on.
Oh, good Christ. I'm the worst mom.
I read this thing the other day. Millennials, look out, because I read my first Generation Z navel gazing article the other day.
Zed. How did you? There was physical pain. There was physical pain when you tried to do that.
I could not say Zed, but I knew you would laugh at me, but you did anyway, so I should have just said it. Generation Z. Yeah, the Queen's English.
Too late now. The moment's gone.
Anyway, but it was funny because apparently, I don't know, I saw a bunch of millennials getting kind of shirty about like, oh, look at the talking about all these like 18-year-olds and oh, they're going to change the world. Oh, and I'm like, yeah, that's right, millennials, get used to those think pieces. Anyway, Arolaide, how are you and how was your weekend?
This was my oldest 5th birthday party this weekend. And everyone finally left my house about an hour ago, and I want to die.
I feel like you've been kind of in a perpetual series of birthday parties for the last little while.
Well, because there's my youngest is in the beginning of August, and then there's my niece, the young Sith, who is the day after, and then there's the Gup's birthday, which is right now, and oh my god. Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
So done with people, like, forever.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, and it's...
Did you, like, chase them all out of your house with a broom?
No, I did not have to, because conveniently none of the younger children actually took their naps because they were too excited about party. So everyone was very cranky and ready to go to bed.
Yeah,
that is helpful.
That sounds like my drive back from the beach today.
Yeah, and so I have a big glass of wine and grown-ups.
Yay! Well, thanks for calling us grown-ups. I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, you at least speak comprehensible English instead, as opposed to my 2-year-old, who I can mostly understand, but also frequently they're screaming for no reason.
Right.
And I could probably beat you if you were screaming, and no one would call CPS. So
that is technically true. I've never thought of it that way.
It wouldn't be CPS.
That's true.
No,
it wouldn't be CPS.
But also, I could argue that you totally deserve it, and no jury in the world would convict me.
Wow, this got kind of intense. I'm a little worried now.
Seriously, I had 12 people in my house for 5 hours.
I feel that you're really intent on thinking of ways that you can legally hit other adult humans with sticks. So I can kind of feel where you're coming from here.
Human pinata, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There indeed were several people that I wanted to beat until candy came out.
They're obsessed with piñatas at my new office. Like, we get a piñata for, like, everything. Like, it was a good sales day, we get a piñata. We got a piñata when they fired people.
That is fucked up. That is
right?
more fucked up than me thinking about ways to beat
dropped
people.
Airplane bottles of liquor.
I mean, that's
okay.
a good piñata. I'm back on board.
It was kind of weird. It was like we closed down this department and we have a piñata full of liquor, and I'm like, I don't know.
You gotta make people feel better.
Yeah, it was confusing. Yeah, so anyway, they're piñatas, apparently, that's a thing.
Did they do it over something soft so you didn't have broken airplane bottles everywhere?
They were probably made of plastic, would be my guess.
Oh.
I think Arrow's correct.
I guess if they go in a piñata, they should probably be made of plastic.
Yeah.
Apparently, my office does a lot of piñatas, so they've thought about these piñata logistics before. So we even have like a special bell you ring when it's piñata time. I don't understand.
Are you sure you're in Seattle and not San Francisco?
But your job is fucked up.
I know. I kind of feel like I work in like the boiler room sometimes, like that movie with Vin Diesel. Except there's no Vin Diesel. It'd be better if there was Vin Diesel.
Or like the basement of the place in the Hudsucker Proxy.
Oh yeah, that would be good too.
Yeah. So
yeah, there will be no piñatas on today's episode of Cat Context for any reason. But what there will be.
How do you know I don't have a piñata? I don't have a camera.
I was going through all the options that Google gave me to look for a piñata.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, as far as I know, there will be no piñatas. Actually, I do the editing, so there will be no piñatas, okay? I'm just saying that right now. No. This is a piñata-free episode. I'm calling it. It's Sunday. Ellie, you've been playing Destiny, and do you miss the Dinklebot? Is it the same?
No, yeah. So the new expansion came out Tuesday, and it's very WoW expansion like this one because it was like a full rebalance of everything, and they changed the whole leveling system. So now you kind of level up to. It's weird because they still have light, which was the thing, the like gear-based level system that they had before, but now your light is just an average of your gear, so they just made it gear or eye level or whatever we called it, gear score.
Right.
Gear score.
Huh.
Yeah, it's weird. But the actual character levels are like 1 to 40 instead of 1 to 20, even though you could get to 34 through fake gear levels, whatever. But as part of this, they also went back and redid the whole story. There are some big air quotes for everybody that is not watching our stream. Yeah, they redid the whole story, and I think they added a bunch of stuff, but I haven't really experienced it. So I jumped from 360 to PS4 as part of this, and they give you a little token to boost up to the new content level one of your characters, but I decided to just... Yeah, it was really nice, actually.
But you didn't use it because you're a grumpy man.
No, I didn't use it because they told me that they redid all the story,
cut
okay. Peter Dinklage, who was the voice of your companion, floaty companion, Navi ghost thing,
Yeah.
And replaced him with Nolan North. So I can't come up with a sweet name like Peter Dinklebot anymore. This is like Nolan Northlebot, but that doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well.
They really should have thought of that.
I know. Yeah. And there's like a lot of articles that refer to Dinklebot, too, so it's,
That's true.
Is a thing. But as far as I can tell, he just reread all the same lines up through level 20 or so, which I'm through like the first expansion worth of content now, I think. They've sort of rearranged things. Maybe there's some new cutscenes that I missed or forgot about the first time, but it really doesn't seem better, honestly. And I think the issue is not the writing. I think the issue is the voice directing. Right, sorry. It's not the casting. It's the writing and direction.
Because I did listen to some Dinklebot samples when they were making the switchover, and it is a interesting reading.
Oh, it's very, like, drawl and bored sounding.
Right, yeah. He's like your AI companion or whatever, and he sounds infinitely bored by everything of what's going on.
He sounds really bored, yeah. So I did, there was a couple of key, like Dinklebot was like, we've broke the hive, and the oh shit, we did something bad. I ran that. Maybe it's just because I ran that. Is burned into my brain. Somebody who came to it and see if they actually got the story that's going on, because I am not getting it still.
I've heard that the Taken King is actually really story-intensive DLC, and I know you haven't had a chance to play any of the new content, but that sounds kind of cool, because I think one of the problems with Destiny at launch was that it didn't have a lot of story, or the story wasn't that great.
Yeah, so it was kind of hidden. So I've heard the same thing from a couple of friends who have like gone all the way through and were interested in the story. They liked it. They were pretty happy with it. But I think it all starts after 25 or so, which is where the boost takes you to. So I'll probably get there this week or by the next podcast, and then we can talk about it. But I hope so, because the story in the first one, like, it's really fucking lazy writing. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. Like, the enemy is literally called the Darkness.
Wow.
You are guardians working for the light, and it's like the most boring, obvious story ever. Basically, this big ball like Death Star thing showed up by Earth and like helped people, I guess. And then there was like some hundreds of years of hooray, and then the darkness came because the darkness follows the Traveler, which is what the Death Star thing is called. Yeah, and now there's like space zombies and space bugs and space robots and like the guys from the Fifth Element. One of the things looks like those like the old race, the big waddly guys from the Fifth Element.
Oh yeah, okay.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, it would be nice to see how it all fit together a little bit.
It sounds like like a spin-off of like Riddick or something by the plot. I'm not sure I mean that in a nice way.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, like, I think there actually was a bunch of lore. They just buried in the thing they called the grimoire, which was all sort of external to the game.
Oh, that's
Um,
no good.
yeah, right. And it's not even like a BioShock game where if you happen to spend 100% of your time finding all of the audio tapes, you will get the whole story.
Yeah,
You like literally
that is
can't get.
that is my jam.
You can't even read the grimoire in the game. You have to read it on the mobile app.
Oh no, fuck
What?
that.
That's an interesting choice.
It's weird. I mean,
And
luckily there's
by
plenty of
interesting, I mean huge bullshit.
luckily there's plenty of waiting time. There's like
Oh
tons and tons of
God.
waiting time. While you're loading, every time you can look on your phone. I don't
Great.
know. So the problem with the game is that all of this stuff makes it feel really stupid to people who are looking for some amount of story and some amount of interesting hook to be playing. But the game is still some of the best shooting I've played in years. So um, I'm not a Call of Duty player or anything like that, so I don't really can't really compare it to like those. But like compared to, it feels like the early Halos where like you played them and you're like they got it right, which makes sense because similar team, right? So
Mhm.
that part they can do well.
I have
Super fun
heard
to
really
play.
good things about the Taken King, and not only that, I've heard it's sold like crazy. And I don't think I saw exact numbers, but basically, people at Activision were wandering around chortling, so I think it sold extremely well.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. It was crazy crowded and all the queues were popping really fast and everything. So that's good, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'll
Yeah.
get there. It's a good, I'm
So,
not 100% going crazy on it.
has the change to Nolan North like changed your game? It's kind of an interesting example of how voice acting can potentially influence a game experience with someone coming in and doing the exact same lines again. So I'm just wondering if it at all altered your playthrough.
No, not nearly as much as like FemShep versus ManShep did. Um, like those felt like different characters in different games almost because one person was awesome and one person was a giant douche. Uh, this
Not wrong.
really, yeah. I mean, they even like put a little like robotic overlay on his voice, so it sounds very similar. Um, I don't feel like that was the thing. I don't feel like he got particularly good voice direction either, Nolan North. Maybe he had a chance to play the game before he read the lines, which would have probably helped a little bit. Um, I'm not super impressed so far with that stuff because the story is still thin, at least in the early part of the game. So,
Mhm, mhm.
and
Um,
and I now have the problem, the leveling problem, where they removed like before they had basically a difficulty slider where you could like boost the difficulty on each of the missions as you went in, and they basically went now for the base level and the highest possible difficulty level and took out all of the intermediate difficulty levels,
Oh,
which is
that's not
really
good either.
weird. Yeah, because you like
that's
over
weird.
level things a little bit or go play in the PvP and get some levels and like then everything's super easy and before I could like bump it up if I wanted something hard. It's just weird. I don't know if there's like too much content and they couldn't really figure it out. Who knows?
Yeah, okay. That seems really strange that they would do that.
Yeah,
I
maybe
mean,
they just found that people weren't really using the intermediate ones.
yeah. I'm trying to think of another good example where, I mean, FemShep, as you said, FemShep and ManShep, where the voice acting, it's easy to compare the two, and I can't think of a really good example. But it seems like I'm sort of disappointed that it hasn't changed the overall feel of the game because it seems like you could do so much with like voice acting and a good voice reading.
Yeah, I think the stuff that's added to the game is that there's a lot more lines from Nathan Fillion and oh, I can't remember her name, who plays Zoe on Firefly. Somebody.
Yes, I can't remember her name either, and I'm
Neither
picturing
can
her.
I.
Thank
What's
you.
there you go. And Lance Reddick, who those are like the three class trainers, and now I feel like they got a lot more lines too. And so now I feel like when I'm going off to do a mission or like the like patrols, which is sort of just like run around and do random tasks for a while, I feel like those characters have way more personality. But the bot, who's the sort of personal companion, narrator, storyteller, like does not feel much stronger yet to me. So.
Do you find it kind of distracting when, like, it's Nathan Fillion? I'm playing Guild Wars 2 lately, and one of the personal story characters is voiced by Felicia Day. But every time I talk to this character, I just think, hey, that's Felicia Day. It kind of actually takes me out of it. I don't know. Do you find that, like, you're like, hey, that's Nathan Fillion?
I do, and I don't know. I think maybe Nolan North has done so many voices that I don't really get distracted by him anymore.
Sure, it's kind of like Troy Baker. You're
Hale.
just like, whatever.
Yeah. And Jennifer Hale's the same way too, right? Like it's like some well done female voice acting, and it's like probably Jennifer Hale, but like it's not always the same voice. Terra, Commander Ty from Battlestar Galactica was like the commander guy. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That guy, he pulled me out of it 100% immediately. So I totally, I seriously have that problem. Like, I remember you.
Arrow, I think you've talked about having that problem where, like, you have a hard time getting past the voice actor.
Well, it depends. Sometimes it's a problem, and sometimes it's a delight. Really, like it. I had trouble playing a female trooper in the Old Republic because that character is so close to the way I played my femship that her also being Jennifer Hale was a distraction. But I had no problem with Jennifer Hale anywhere else in the game. Like, she's everywhere in that game.
Yeah, and it seems like with the trooper, they actually they said to her, be femship.
Yeah, probably. And that's cool. It wasn't for me. But I don't have any trouble with Brian Bloom, who is the male trooper.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
that would also be distracting for other. It's also kind of a game for me. I've always been super into voice acting and voice actors and tracking that stuff down, like my entire life, my entire cartoon watching life. Which kind of came to a head, I think, with Gargoyles when I was in high school, which was a big deal for my generation and was full of everyone awesome in the sci-fi world.
Yeah, Gargoyles. Yeah, that's about right from my age too. Yeah. Yeah, I was watching a Metal Gear Solid 3 playthrough the other day, and one of the characters turned out at the end they're like, that's Jennifer Hale, and I had no idea. So I guess, that's really, I mean, obviously, but to me who doesn't know much about the industry, that's probably a mark of a good voice actor, is that they can do a role and I don't know it's them.
She also does Cinderella in Tiny Dino's current favorite show, one of the Disney cartoons, which is hilarious. And meanwhile, the Gup is crazy into original flavor Powerpuff Girls, which is 90% Jennifer Hale.
Oh, is it really?
Is it really?
Oh, yeah. Any female character who is not one of the Powerpuff Girls is Jennifer Hale.
Huh.
No way!
Like, it was a gag. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
So, yeah, she's Miss Bellum, she's Miss Keen the teacher, she's Sedusa, she's Princess. It's hilarious.
Do you have that problem with actors, non-voice actors?
Like, see them and think...
I do. I mean, I do all the time. But yeah, exactly. Like, not be able to get
I have trouble with
from,
voice actors in acting roles.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, okay, you've talked about this with Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah, I had this trouble. I could not... I understand that Once Upon a Time is guilty pleasure for a lot of people. I could not get past like the first 2 episodes because Raphael Sbarge does not look like I think Raphael Sbarge should look. And it's really disconcerting. Meanwhile, there was one of the shows that we mainline on Netflix is Castle, and the victim du jour, on a season, I think season 4 somewhere, it was an episode we just watched, was Brandon Keener. And Mr. Arrow said my head popped up like a bloodhound. Just opens his mouth and it's, Garrus? And he looks
Interesting.
exactly like himself, which is totally fine.
I have not known that. That's interesting. Now I have to watch Castle.
You have to watch all the seasons just for the Garrus episode.
That's right, just for that. But yeah, sometimes like that hey it's that guy kind of moment. I don't know if you guys have watched House of Cards, but there's the guy who plays sort of Kevin Spacey's right hand man, and the character's name is Doug Stamper, and he shows up in everything for like the last 20 years. He's been in like an episode of everything, and every time I see him now, I'm like, hey, it's Doug Stamper. He's gonna be like the Secretary of State or whatever. And yeah, so it does kind of shake me out of it. But on the other hand, I mean, good on them for having hey it's that guy status.
Oh yeah, totally.
I love hey it's that guy guys.
Yeah, it's super fun to figure out. Oh, I saw this guy in this other thing or whatever. Like, we just watched.
It has become much more fun since I've gotten a smartphone, and you can
'cause
immediately look that up. Yeah.
Oh no, I wait till I guess and then I look it up.
But I do think like it was weird when we had BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us come out at the same year, and Joel and Booker are both Troy Baker doing pretty much the same voice, and I did find it somewhat disconcerting.
Wait, what was the other one? Last of Us and what?
And BioShock Infinite.
I played them with several years in between for me, so it didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and it wasn't disconcerting for me because, like Steve Bloom, he's done a lot of anime dubs. So I mean, it's pretty much all the same. I mean, Crispin Freeman, Steve Bloom, the Troy Baker, they're in everything all the time forever.
Right,
So
and that's kind of the Jennifer Hale thing for me too, right? Is like I know that if this person's involved, it's going to be good, but it's not. It doesn't take me out because there's so many voices that I've heard.
Right.
Right. It's sort of.
Yeah, that's true.
Along with it.
Yeah, with the exception of what Era pointed out when she did the Trooper, which was definitely do femshap, and it was a little, it's kind of like and also that was like right after Mass Effect 2, and I'm like, I feel very strange about this. But otherwise, yeah, when Jennifer Hale comes up, usually, even if I do notice it's her, although I didn't even notice it was her during Creme until someone mentioned it, and I'm like, oh yeah, of course it is.
During what?
Creme, a character in Dragon Age.
A really awesome character.
A really awesome character, granted.
I know.
But yes.
The only one who ever really distracts me, I think, is Cam Clark, because I associate him the most with Deflator Mouse in The Tick.
That's a good one. I have moments where I listen to Iron Bull and I try to imagine Freddie Prinze Jr. and I can't.
He's really good.
He is. He's really good.
And is this the point where he's an excellent voice actor. He's also one of the leads in the animated Star Wars show that's currently airing in Rebels.
Yeah, Rebels. Yeah, he's actually he's been in a bunch of stuff that's. I'm always surprised. I'm like Freddie Prinze Jr.
Really
you were a
good.
terrible actor, but a really good voice actor.
It's nice to see he did good after Wing Commander.
Oh, God.
He's given back to the sci-fi fantasy community through his.
It's a really different skill set, which is why I think it's interesting when you talk about how there doesn't seem to be much of a change between Nolan North and Peter Dinklage, because you can have an excellent film actor who is no good on stage or no good voicing, it's not. Like, a great actor is not necessarily great everywhere.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and right, yeah, that's really interesting, and it's really cool when they are good at both, right? Like, I always thought Robin Williams was really, I mean, like, I don't know if he did much voice acting outside of like the genie in Aladdin, but the genie in Aladdin is some of the best voice acting ever, but it's really just Robin Williams. I don't know if it's actually good voice acting. It's just an awesome character.
Yeah.
No, I think it takes a lot of work to sit in a room and make it sound real.
Well,
so
I mean, Mark Hamill's like that too, right? Like Mark Hamill, when you see him in Star Wars or other things, is pretty not great. He does a good Joker, that's for sure.
He doesn't like being in front of a camera. He much prefers voice acting. He said so.
He just wanted to go to Toshi Station to get some power converters, you guys.
And then you've got somebody like Greg Ellis who started on stage doing West End musicals, for Christ's sake, and who has done a million things both behind a microphone and in front of a camera. And he's always really good at all of them.
I think what we can take away from this is that it's hard to know how someone's going to do until they actually have a shot at it. Because before Destiny came out, and they're like, and your little AI companion is voiced by Peter Dinklage, and I'm like, Peter Dinklage, that's amazing. And then you listen to it, and for whatever reason, perhaps he had poor direction, maybe whatever, it does come across like he is just really painfully bored by everything everyone's doing.
And that part, it is true that Nolan Northlebot is less bored sounding all the time. He has like more emotions, but I think they're still asking him to play a robot voice, right? He's still an AI. He still sort of has there's still a monotone going on. There are ways
to do a robot voice that doesn't suck. So that's probably a direction.
Yeah, that's why I think it is a direction thing. And like I said, maybe it gets better later. And it wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised if I'm projecting Peter Dinklage's robot voice onto the Nolan Northbot voice that I hear, having heard, because it's the same thing. Like, you play the same missions over and over, and they're all voiced. So I've heard the same thing 100 times.
Yeah.
Hearing somebody else do it similarly but slightly different, like, it's hard to necessarily distinguish yet. So.
That's such a strange decision to go back and retroactively change the voice.
It would have been so easy to get an upgrade for your bot, and have it change the voice.
Right, or be like in the new stuff, you have Ghost Mark II or whatever.
Right, and there's like a bunch of shit that like pokes fun at that kind of thing. Like Destiny has done a bunch of nods to out of game things, so it's weird that like they had like a loot farming location early on. There was like some cave that would spawn guys over and over, and people hung out there for hours because apparently it was the best way to get stuff. And like when they finally patch it out, they like added in a voice that like makes fun of you if you keep trying to shoot there, right?
That's amazing. I love it when they do stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. So it's like a nod to that thing. They could have easily done the same thing with Dinklage bot, and I don't know, maybe they didn't want to pay him anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You get a stage actor, a screen actor, and you want them to do voice work, that's going to be expensive.
I'm sure he's busy. He's, in Tunisia shooting Game of Thrones or whatever.
Yep.
But re-recording everything is also more money.
Yeah,
it's just a strange decision.
It was very strange.
It feels like, I don't think they intended it to come across this way, but it feels very much like they're like, well, fine, you can't be in our game at all anymore. Like, it feels like they're kind of punishing Peter Dinklage for something. Like,
there was a lot of negative reaction from the community to him. So going on, like, somebody who picks up the game now, right? Like, the Taken King is really, it's like Burning Crusade, right? It's like a big, major reinvention of the game. So I'm sure they brought in people who were like, I don't want to be behind or whatever, and they're trying to do that and sell it. And they're hinting at Destiny 2, but I take it in the same way as WoW 2, right? Which is like,
never.
I don't know that that's ever going to happen, honestly.
Right.
Like, once you have people here, you don't want to break up the player base across multiple games.
Look at how well it worked for EverQuest.
Right.
Yeah, or all the Call of Duty series.
And again, when it comes to the quarterly financials, I think Destiny is a license to print money right now. So
yeah, it sure is. Yeah, so like in a couple of years, when somebody picks up this game, like, they're gonna hear Nolan North, and it's gonna be the same throughout, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just about that, right? Rather than having a worse experience to start. So.
Mm-hmm.
Better to do it now than then.
Yeah, well, I'll be interested to hear on the next episode how you like the new stuff, the new contents and stories.
Still fun to shoot.
Still fun to shoot. Yay! So I want to briefly touch on another topic, and we probably won't have too much to say about this because I think we're all on the same page, and when we agree on things, we don't have much to say, oddly enough. But there was an interesting controversial article that came out on Touch Arcade last week called "We Own You: Confessions of an Anonymous Free-to-Play Producer." So anyone who has been following this podcast with any regularity knows that we're not necessarily big fans of the free-to-play business model. But the thing I thought was really interesting about this article is it brought up two major objections that I'd never even considered in my campaign to dislike free-to-play, which is that they are tracking so much of your information and putting that into their great big information decks and selling their information about you. And also just the lengths they go to secure funding, like the buy-in from their whales, being the people who spend a shitload of money on your game. And just talking about, so putting in like actual custom items in the game because they know that dude right there, they've tracked enough information about him that they know that he is a fan of a particular, strange team, so they will make sure to put in, you can buy a flag for that team and stuff like that. Like, that is a level, I knew that it was predatory, but this anonymous essay really was like, wow, it's really predatory. Holy shit.
It's targeted and predatory, right? Like,
right. Yeah. It's not just we're trying to suck all the money out of all the people. It's like we have taken your information and boiled it down to, you, Jim, like corn, so now you can buy a corn on the cob for your farm in Farmville. Like,
I knew about the tracking because, in general, on the internet, if something is free, then you are the product. And that is how it is.
Even if it's not actually free, like free-to-play games.
Yeah, even if it's not actually free, you are the product. I mean, even something as simple as Google. You are the product. They're selling you to other people. That's why it is free for you.
Mm-hmm.
But the granularity of that data down to, hey, you like this football team, so spend $10 on stuff for football, that's fucked up. Wow. I am super glad that I do not link any information to any of my free-to-play games ever because, wow.
Yeah, I mean, just to use a sentence from this article, every time you play a free-to-play game, you just build this giant online database of who you are, who your friends are, and what you like and don't like. Hooray! That's great. Now, as you say, Arrow, like, we've come to expect a certain amount of that on the internet. It comes to probably no surprise to anybody that Facebook, for example, tracks everything you do and all your clicks and blah, blah, blah. But as you said...
Even if you're not on Facebook.
Right, yeah, exactly. And the fact that they can take this information and create such a granular view and be like, we are targeting these particular people who we know will spend all this money on our games. And one of the responses I saw to this article was, well, I'm never going to be a whale, so what does it matter to me? And I don't like that attitude.
That's a terrible attitude.
Yeah. One day it's going to end up being you. You're going to be the sucker. That's the way it works. I don't know. This makes me want to go uninstall all my free-to-play games from my phone.
I'm sitting here playing Final Fantasy Record Keeper while we talk, so...
I see you've taken a lot away from this article.
Well,
I don't have it linked to my Facebook account. I'm not an idiot.
I don't have it linked to my Facebook account, but that doesn't really matter, does it? Because... that is part of the point. It's also the cross-site server tracking scripts and cookies, and it's part of the thing that people are up in arms about advertising with iOS 9, which you can now put content blockers on because people are like, oh shit, I'm not going to get all your mobile browsing habits no matter what if you've ever visited a site that I've associated with briefly. But so I'm in a weird position with this because I really hate the business model like you guys, but I also work for a company that is building databases of advertisement.
Wow.
Which you guys do. Don't act surprised, you knew.
That's okay. Like, data-driven marketing target is a thing now. Yeah.
Right. It is, and we're ostensibly doing it, at the moment. to help people save money as opposed to sell their information. But it's not that far-fetched that we would do that. And the bigger thing is that like it's more like you guys are surprised that they can figure out who an individual user is and what their habits are. Like that doesn't shock me at all. Like I don't even have that much data, and I can I can figure that kind of stuff out. Like I don't currently have a lot of user data, but if I was collecting user data, then I would be able to do that. I mean, I can do that from the other side, right? I can see who like products and how the products are flowing and where they are and all that kind of thing. Like data is really cool, but it's also fucking terrifying. And I think it's a place where, as a society, we have rapidly outpaced our ability to both understand and regulate it.
I
And
think
we
that's
need
true. Yeah.
smart people thinking about these things and what it actually means, because like we're pretty far down the road of like everybody wants all this data and everybody quote unquote requires this data to run their business, and if we start turning it off, like a lot of companies are going to explode. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if we go another 10 years before we talk about it, we're totally fucked.
Especially since there's no limits on how long someone can keep this data.
That's right.
Like, once they have access to that information, they have it forever.
Well, and what they can
Cannot-
use it for and who they can sell it to and all these sorts of things, right? Like,
And like it's like with a credit card. If they sell your loan, your student loan gets sold to 6 or 8 different companies down a chain because everyone is going out of business, then you don't know who's got your data, where they've got their data, who their business partners are that also have that data.
that's right. My mortgage was the same way, right? Like we got a mortgage, and before we made the first payment on our mortgage, on our refinance, it had already been sold 3 times,
Yeah.
I
right?
just want to do a brief interruption here to say to our one YouTube viewer who is Mangle, hi Mangle, he has sent a comment that says bring back Vajra. I'll let him know
Oh
that you said
man,
that.
that's so harsh.
Well, Ellie, if you played Dragon
Maybe
Age,
it
you
wasn't
could
for
stay
me.
too.
Maybe he's not talking about replacing me with Vajra.
Maybe he just means in addition. In addition.
Maybe he
to
thinks
the-
Liore should be gone since we could get Vajra in that Z release.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure he's terrified of both me and Lior.
Nice. I do have an announcement at the end of this podcast in relation to Vajra, so there you
Oh
go.
dear God.
Oh.
Don't worry, Ellie. You're okay. You're safe. You're safe. Sorry, that just came in, so I want to acknowledge our YouTube viewer. Hi, Mango. Yes, no, I agree. It's concerning. You know, the ad block thing with it being native to iOS. Is it iOS 9 that's
iOS
on
9,
mobile?
yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. The new
I'm
one
actually
that just
trying
came
to
out.
find it because I have no idea what.
So I can talk to you about it afterwards, but you have to
That's fine.
install a content blocker before you get the option to do it.
Okay.
And it's caused quite a bit of navel gazing in the sort of content circles of, and I understand because as someone who writes things for the internet that I am occasionally paid to write, that is how people make the money with which they pay me is through advertisements. But on the other hand, I use ad blocker. I almost never turn it off except for in particular cases where I really want to support a site, and because the ads are terrible. I mean, they're a vector for viruses. They not only are advertising to me, they're also tracking everything I do. So it's like they're double dipping that information. I'm being advertised to, and they're tracking me. And the thing that people are saying is, well, if you don't allow ads, you're either going to kill cool websites that create content, or the advertisers will come up with a way to get around these ad blockers, you know, or everyone's going to move to Facebook is the big thing they threaten. If you don't do this,
Good.
everyone's going
Then
to
I
move
don't
to
have to
Facebook.
read your shit.
Look, I mean, I sympathize as someone who can make money from advertisements and writing. I sympathize. However, you know, on the other hand, ads suck.
Yeah.
And they just have taken to such an extreme. It actively drops the quality of my online experience if I start to allow ads. And not to mention, that's where all your viruses are coming from nowadays. It's through stupid banner ads.
Yeah, I actually think a number of content creators that I've listened to have sort of weighed in on this too, and a lot of them believe that the ads suck and they break the, embedding the ads. If they want to get advertising revenue, they're forced to embed the weird ass scripts and the tracking and all that shit as part of it, because they're not actually buying an ad from a specific advertiser. They're buying it from an advertising network who requires all these things to be in place. And on top of that, it does disrupt the content. It makes your phone or your websites run slower. Like if you turn off ad blocking, or toggle it between on and off and load the same page over and over, and go to like a big mainstream site like the New York Times front page, right? It's like fucking terrible. But like on my machine, it loads quickly because I don't let your shit run. And then they're like, okay, so think about, so ours wrote a big thing about this because Ars Technica is pretty like heavily against, or pretty at least upfront about how many people block their ads, which is a large percentage. And they're kind of self-selected for people who might run ad blockers anyway. Mm-hmm. But it's sort of the problem is it ruins the site. It ruins the layout of the site. It becomes overbearing. It gets in the way of the browsing experience, and it sucks. And so I do block ads. They're like, oh, we'll just whitelist this. But the problem is, if I whitelist you, I don't actually know who I'm whitelisting. Like, I would rather give ours $5 or $10 or $15 a year or so, which is probably about. I actually don't know how much my individual ad revenue is worth to them, and it's probably, as an individual, not very much, right? It's all about aggregates. I'd way rather give them that money straight up so that they could keep producing content than whitelist them and open myself up to all this shit anyway.
I agree. If I know that, for example, say the Toast, it's the Toast who's getting my information, they're the ones who are presenting the ads, I would be more inclined to whitelist. But as you say, they're not getting... They have nothing to do with the ads. They just like set up a spot where they, embed a code from their ad network, and they don't get my personal information or whatever. It's all going to some sort of third party who I don't even know who they are. So it's asking a lot for me to be like, yeah, sure, send me those ads, no problem. Something that a lot of places are doing, I think BuzzFeed in particular is doing this more, is creating content that is an ad. So, like one of the...
Yeah, that's so bad. That's way worse.
Sort of, but I sort of don't mind that either. Like, instead of showing me an ad for some kind of food, show me a recipe where you use that. And if that's like a legitimate recipe, I would much rather see that than see a stupid blinking ad telling me that.
And that's what bloggers have been doing for 15 years. You hook up with a brand, and they pay you money, and you write a post about whatever they want.
Right, yeah, and then I'm reading something. I'm happy. Everyone's happy.
I'm okay with that stuff if it's disclosed. I mean,
you are legally required to disclose that it's a sponsored post.
You are, but it's not always obviously disclosed. Like, that's one of the things as those. I mean, like, you open up a copy of a magazine these days, and like you'll see like a 10-page insert that's like some fucking in-depth review of some product, and it's all sponsored, but it's in the same typesetting, it's in the same font, it's all like, sometimes it's on a different colored background page, which they don't usually do except for sponsored content. So like, usually in print I can figure it out. Sometimes after a page, right? And then and it's harder to do on the web. And I think that's I actually would rather have that kind of thing, or I would rather have something like the last comparison I heard was the newspaper, right? Like, you go and buy a print copy of the newspaper, and like, yeah, you're buying this thing and you're getting a ton of advertisement, but somebody took the time to design that advertisement and place that advertisement and place the print around that advertisement, and there's thought that goes into each individual advertisement, and not just like it'll just happen to go wherever it goes, right? I mean,
I agree totally.
I think that's better. Like, I don't know. I'd still rather pay people for things. It's hard when you link me a copy. When we pass links around, this is one of the places where this breaks down, right? Like, like if I browse with ad blocks off and then we all link each other content and like maybe we've whitelisted sites or whatever, when I pass it to you, I'm passing you the information and then you're consuming that content, but you're consuming it in a free way and you're not feeding back even though you've consumed that content. I don't know how to get around that.
Yeah, I mean, there needs to be, if we're going to go that way, there needs to be a reasonable system to do that because, like, even just when it comes to news that I follow off Twitter in a day, I'm probably visiting like a dozen sites a day. And so, I don't want to, of course, pay $10 a month to each of these sites, but if there was some sort of great conglomerate that I could drop, $20 into, that I would be into that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like maybe one of the answers is I don't really want to make Google the like manager of this kind of thing. But I mean, like I use them as an example because I use Chrome primarily, right? So like if I dropped a tip jar in and I filled up the tip jar on my browser, and then I allowed my browser knows all of the sites I'm going to, regardless of if I'm tracking it or if they're tracking me or not. Like even if you're browsing incognito mode or whatever, it's like still following you. It still knows where you went, right? So if the browser had a way of doling that money out over the course of your month or whatever it happens to be, like maybe that's a way that we could proactively pay for the things that we actually consume without having to deal with all the other bullshit. I'm sure there would be some way that would get taken advantage of too.
Yeah, I think that's definitely an option they'll have to look into.
I don't know. In the end, like we're not the consumers of most of these media content creation sites anyway. Like their business relationship is not with us; it's with the advertisers. So this puts us again in one of these situations where like we're
the product. Yeah,
we're the product.
Yay! We don't have much time, so in a short version, we wanted to talk briefly about TV shows that we've been watching lately because we've been watching a lot of TV. Ellie, you said you've been watching lots of crappy sci-fi lately.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it's crappy, but I watched the first season of Dark Matter, which is on the Sci-Fi Channel, and then now I'm like 2/3 of the way through Killjoys, which is on directly before Dark Matter, and they're both totally trying to recreate Firefly.
I could get behind that.
Yeah, well, they're not doing it. But it's but it's like Dark Matter is like 6 people wake up on a ship and don't remember who they are and nothing about their past, except they're on they figure out that they're on some mission to do some bad shit basically, right? And they're like, why are we here? And then like they're trying to figure it out. But there's clearly like the Jane character and there's like the Zoe character and there's the someone's always Mal and whatever. So it's cheesy generic sci-fi, but it was actually really fun to watch. It was you kind of have to deal with the characters. They're not great. And then Killjoys is about mercenaries who work for the company that the megacorp hires to let anybody do whatever they want as long as they pay them. And they're sort of outside above the law.
That's interesting.
It's actually really interesting. It's both of these actually have women running the ship as like the primary captain or captain's role in the case of Dark Matter, and that's kind of cool. I think sci-fi can do that a little bit more, and I don't know. Killjoys is pretty fun. It's got it has young Cyclops, not Cyclops.
James Marsden?
No. It has Iceman. Iceman, you know who Iceman from?
Sean somebody
Ashmore.
or other.
His last name's
Yeah,
Ashmore.
Sean Ashmore.
It has his twin brother.
Oh, the twin. Okay, they're Canadian. That's how I know them.
His name's Aaron.
You know all Canadians.
Actually, their IMDb pages are hilarious because they're totally like giving each other shit in their IMDb bios.
That's nice. That's nice. Yeah, that's
like
good.
one of them's like, I'm a 1/4 inch taller than the other one.
That's pretty awesome.
I find them both to be really fun, and they're both. I don't know if they're on Netflix or anything. I'm watching them on Comcast on demand, because I still have Comcast. Uh, but when they come out somewhere else, maybe they're on Hulu. Maybe they're on Hulu.
No, Sci-Fi doesn't air on Hulu. They have their own app.
Okay, they're probably on the Sci-Fi app then.
Oh yeah. Okay, they'd be on the Sci-Fi channel then. Yeah.
I think they're fun if you're looking for like sort of semi-ridiculous, low-cost sci-fi. Surprisingly good production values.
Nice.
Yeah.
Person of Interest came on Netflix. It's like a new this month on Netflix, and I started watching it because I like crime procedurals, and it's pretty good. The shtick is there's a machine, and the machine is used to. It was created to detect terrorism before it happens, but it can also.
That's always good.
Right, but it also detects murder before it happens. But the government kind of ignores the murder part because they don't have time for that. They're mostly interested in the terrorism. So the guy who created the machine has the murder numbers kind of sent to him, and they get a social insurance number. Wait, is that what they call it in America?
Social Security.
Social Security number. And they don't know if it's the victim or the killer. And all they get is a Social Security number, and so there's kind of like a nerd hacker guy and James Caviezel. Yeah, that sounds right. Plays an ex-CIA who is old and.
Is that Ben from Lost?
Yeah,
James
Ben from
Caviezel?
Lost is the hacker.
Oh.
Dude, yeah. Finch and Reese, and they go on adventures and stuff and save people.
So we going back to our earlier conversation. That's one of those dudes that I can't ever see him and not as the creepy fucker from Lost.
See, I didn't see Lost, so I guess I'm free from that concern of.
Don't watch Lost. Oh my god.
Well, I just went to Hulu and they have Destiny all over the front page. It's like they know what we're talking about. Are you tracking me? So we're watching that, and I've also started The Blacklist.
I love The Blacklist. Cool. Oh my god.
Which I've only watched like 4 episodes or so. I'm not totally sure if I'm into it, but it's James Spader, so I will keep watching until the end of the first season and
that's
then decide.
the Fedora one, right?
It is the Fedora one. Yeah, so James Spader is basically a fixer who has been working with extremely large-scale criminal elements for a while, and he turns himself into the U.S. government and says basically, if you let me hang around and wear my fedora, I will help you catch the people on my blacklist who are the biggest and baddest people in the world.
Season 3 is about to start. It's so great. It is my favorite guilty pleasure show because it's absolutely atrocious, and James Spader's having the time of his life.
He is having the time of his life.
Having so much fun, and there are so many charming individual characters that I do not give a shit how ridiculous the show is.
Did you ever watch White Collar?
I have never seen it.
I actually literally watched the first episode of that right before we started recording today.
Okay. How is that compared to The Blacklist? The Blacklist seems like more serious-ish than White Collar ever was.
It is a lot more serious, but it's also... There's a lot going on in this show.
I would agree with that, Ellie. It is more serious. It's still not super serious. It's still kind of, spies and...
For a procedural drama on a major network that is super serious, they're actually really good about not having sexy lady murder.
That's true, and that's one of the things I really like about Person of Interest as well, because I watched a lot of Criminal Minds, which I enjoyed, but it was always like, how's this lady sexy murder of the week? And eventually
CSI was like that too.
Right,
and I watched a shitload of that, and then I got bored.
I'm really over that, so I will give it to both The Blacklist and Person of Interest. They stay away from that, so bravo.
I liked White Collar a lot. That was one of our favorites, but they finally finished their run last year, so it's all done now.
Okay. That is on my list to start watching next.
So far, my favorite of that style has been Burn Notice, but I'm still not done with it. I've got one more season.
We couldn't get into Burn Notice. Well, I liked it, but Talon wasn't into Burn Notice, and therefore it fell
I think
off.
it takes a while to hit its stride, because the characters are playing particular archetypes, and it takes a while for I don't want to say the team to mesh, but that's pretty much what's going on.
I think she wanted to punch the main guy in the face because he's got a really douchey face and acts like a giant douche.
Watching Person of Interest, I'm like, because James Caviezel in Person of Interest, and unfortunately I can't remember Mike's the name of the character. Anyway, the lead guy in Burn Notice, they kind of play somewhat of the same role, like they can't be secret agents anymore, now they've got to get by in the real world. And every time I watch Person of Interest, I think this would be so much better if it had the Burn Notice guy in it.
Jeffrey Donovan.
Thank you. Yes, Jeffrey Donovan, you're super cool and have good facial expressions.
I don't know.
I can never see James Caviezel as anything other than the Count of Monte Cristo.
It doesn't matter. I think of him as Jesus from that Jesus movie.
Yeah, see, no, the Count of Monte Cristo. That's another guilty pleasure movie for me.
Oh, that movie. Oh, God.
Yes, with tiny baby Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
How's
James
that?
Caviezel.
Era, do you have any other
Henry
guilty
Cavill
pleasure TV shows you're watching lately you want to recommend while we're doing this?
Henry Cavill is the current Superman.
Right.
He is the tiny baby teenage son in Count of Monte Cristo. And he's also the douche in Stardust.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was a good movie.
Yeah, it's a super fun movie. So we already talked about The Blacklist. Season 3 of The Blacklist is starting. The other TV show I keep up with is Haven. Speaking of sci-fi original shows, that final season starts, I think, in 2 weeks. And they actually have an ending. They're wrapping up the show. I'm really excited because I've actually started getting kind of stressed out with this because it's been 5 seasons now. I've been stressed out that it's going to get canceled and there aren't going to be any answers and I'm going to have to go and punch someone because I can't stop watching it.
So you've said Haven before. That's sci-fi?
Yes, it is.
All right. I think I put it on my list.
The first 4 seasons are on Netflix currently.
Yeah, I have to find the last season of Lost Girl, too, because Lost Girl is another one of those like ridiculous shows that has no business being fun, but is actually super fun.
Mm-hmm.
Haven it's a Monster of the Week show, but no one takes it very seriously. And yeah,
It's scary. How scary is it?
Well, you can handle it.
It's so scary that even Ellie can handle
it. Like Sleepy Hollow style? Because Sleepy Hollow.
I don't think it's not as scary as Sleepy Hollow because it's more about people dealing with bad shit rather than just fixing up bad shit. Demons coming to eat everyone.
Sleepy Hollow starts this week too.
Oh man, I have to catch up on season 2, so I haven't. It's on my list. I really like it, but it's not one that I put on the DVR. I will wait for it to hit Netflix because I want to mainline that shit all at once.
That's reasonable.
Because Sleepy Hollow is, I don't know, it's like the nerd version of meth. Just all at once.
It's pretty.
Shoot it all. And that I think is the way you should experience Sleepy Hollow.
We are going to wrap up this episode because we have been talking for over an hour, and it's time for us to stop. But while we're on the subject of entertainment, I wanted to say that if you listened to last week's show, there was Vajra here with me, and probably shortly after you are listening to this podcast, we will be launching our brand new podcast. It's about horror movies. It's called the Black Lodge Screening Room, and yeah, it should be fun. So if you like horror movies, I will post new episodes on my blog, Liore blog, and you should check it out because Vajra and I have a lot to say about them.
Can I come talk about the Babadook?
Yes. Yes, you can, because yes, I would actually enjoy that because
Wait, if you do that, then I don't have to watch it.
That's true. Well, you're off the hook now, Ellie, because now I'm channeling all my horror movie stuff into another show. So that means you don't have to watch.
My life.
I know you're off. You do not have to watch any more scary things, which means I no longer have to watch Toy Story.
No, that is total bullshit because we made this pact.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna watch it if you want. Just
okay. We can trade. We can do one, but generally you are off the hook. But yeah, we want to talk about horror movies. We're gonna review movies we've seen, talk about recent trailers, and the first episode is us talking about the legacy of John Carpenter and fighting over which is his best horror movie.
Oh,
Preview?
that's
Preview?
Preview?
Preview? Yes.
Preview.
Oh,
Do you want to tease what it is?
Of what
from
it
your
is.
side? He's not here to
No,
rebuke
don't,
you,
because
so it's perfect.
I will bet you $1 million billion I will argue with you, and then we will never get off the recording.
I will say we're like, okay, if you don't count The Thing or Halloween, because those are the obvious answers.
No.
But they're so good.
Okay, no, you can't say what's the best John Carpenter movie other than his 2 best movies.
But you can't. Well, exactly, because that makes the answer obvious. So we tried to pick alternative.
No, that's.
I think our answers will surprise you. So.
It's like you've never talked to Liore about anything, Arrow.
I forget that you guys are always wrong about everything all the time, forever.
God.
And
Anyway,
if anything is popular, it's no longer good.
No, I'm sorry.
those are both so good they can't even be considered. That's the deal. There's how could you say anything except those two?
So you're saying what's his third best?
What is his third best movie? See, that would be better.
That is basically
that would be a better question.
What is his third best movie? God, and we also complain a lot about remakes of Halloween. So if you like classic horror or you like ghost stories and stuff, do check it out. Black Lodge Screening Room. Okay. Arrow and Ellie, thank you for coming on the show.
Okay.
Ellie is hysterical with relief.
No, I just like it's funny.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm excited. I'm excited. More podcasts for the podcast monster is great.
We'll also play Dragon Age.
I will play. I am not allowed to play Dragon Age until after Talon plays Dragon Age, so you have to fight her and not me.
That's fine. She should come on the podcast, or anywhere that I can talk about Dragon Age.
I have a snarky answer to that, but I will say that after the show is over.
Talk at her on Slack.
That's true. No, I talk about Dragon Age anyway. Yeah, I know what you were going to say. It's fine.
No, I was going to say a certain person's wedding would be a good place to talk about Dragon Age.
I would love to come to your wedding to talk
true.
about Dragon Age. Can you hire me a private jet that's got a hospital bed in it?
I mean, probably.
Probably?
Yeah.
Can or will.
Anyway, that is it for this episode. Episode 82 is in the can. Ellie, thank you for coming on the show.
Hooray!
Arrow, thank you for coming on the show.
You're welcome, anytime.
Wow! I don't know what to think about that. I think aliens ate Arolaide.
She was polite and nice. What's wrong?
What is that? So thank you to our one YouTube viewer who is probably Mango. We appreciate you checking in and leaving us snarky comments. It's what we live for. You can find us LioreBlog.com/catcontext. We are on Twitter @catcontext. I'm on Twitter, hey, it's Liore. Ellie's on Twitter @ThatAngryDwarf, and Arolaide's on Twitter @Arolaide. Whew. Okay, that's it. I'm done.
Got it.
Okay. I got nothing else to say.
You didn't even have to write it down this time.
I know, close one. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Goodbye.